Hello everyone, welcome to Scorcher Toys at AnyMoon.com's review of the KitzConcept Super Deformed VF1 Veritech toy. Now you might recognize these toys from their initial release as Fans Make Toys unlicensed Macross products. They subsequently got the license from Harmony Gold to be a Robotech toy, and that's where we are today. The Focal release came out in September 2016 for $79.99. That was followed up in October 2016 by the Rick Hunter VF1J. Inside the box, you got an alternate smaller head, which you need for Fighter and Guardian modes. You have a heat shield for Battroid mode, 4 sets of missiles, 4 sets of fixed posed hands, a gun, side covers for Battroid mode, a display stand, instructions, and 4 batteries, 2 for the gun and 2 for the head. The toy does come packaged in Battroid mode, but I'm going to begin in Fighter mode because I want to end on a strong note. I mentioned that the toy comes with a display stand. You can see the display stand here. It is a clear piece of plastic. It's actually 2 pieces of plastic, a base and an arm. There are no points of articulation. There's no pivot point here, nowhere to bank. So that is what you see is what you get. It's a fixed pose display stand. There's a crook in the arm which allows the light from the gun to shine through if you are using the light, or otherwise you would just be able to see that gun from dead on, which is also good to see. Now, the gun itself, I have one that doesn't work out of the 2 toys I purchased, so potentially either just dead batteries or a broken toy, broken gun, I should say. So something to let me know via comment if you've also got a dead gun, and we'll see if that is something that's common or just a flaw of my own toy. There is a lot of metal in this toy. It's got a lot of heft, so that display stand is definitely getting its work cut out for it. And I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate that weight. All of that metal probably explains why the panel lines are so fat on this toy. And it's going to be very subjective. Some people are really going to like those panel lines. Other people are going to think they look pretty garish with how thick they are. Another reason you're going to be very happy with the display stand is that there are no landing gear on this toy. Nothing here, nothing there, absolutely no landing gear, which if you've got one of the old Joke Machine toys from the 80s, you'll remember that they're about 10 centimeters long versus the 15 centimeters long of the KitzConcept toy. But they managed to go ahead and pack landing gear into their small little package. And I think landing gear are a definite plus for the classic toy and a definite minus for this KitzConcept toy. All right, so let's check out Fighter mode a little bit closer here. The gun obviously attached in Fighter mode. It attaches in kind of a funky way. There's the big gun grip that's going right between the shoulders, and you essentially jam it into position to get those shoulders out of the way, and then lock the butt of the gun in between the arms. Now it does lock incredibly securely. In fact, Fighter mode overall, very secure, so that's definitely a positive. To remove the gun, you kind of just split the arms apart and then pull it out. So here we go. There's the gun, and again, turn it on. It's just like a ballpoint pen. Boom, boom. All right, so now that that's apart, without the gun, we can bring those arms back together, and they will still lock very securely into place. You might have to maneuver the shoulders a little bit to get them nice and straight again. But there you go. And when you have the gun removed, the toy will sit down nicely on a flat surface. So not having the landing gear, much less of a problem. Now there are lots of other problems though. The arms are positioned way aft of where they ought to be, creating a giant hole between the head. And you can see if you use the larger head, there's no way it would ever fit between these 2 intakes. But you have this gap here. You have the arms way back past the feet even. So that is very peculiar. And the backpack is so thin that doesn't come down and butt up against the arm. So you have another big fat gap right there. And that's the only one that causes issues because you can accidentally touch the arms. If the gun was attached, it would now be pointing down. So that's a bit of a bummer. Also, since the backpack doesn't latch into the arms, you can get these things where your backpack looks a little skewed upward. So that's obviously not where you want to be. So some pretty big bummers there. The head does tuck in nicely underneath the nose cone. The other big bummer I have, not even that big of a bummer. A couple things. The canopy doesn't stay open, but it does open, which is nice. There's a nicely painted, detailed pilot inside. Nice color inside, green seat, kind of an off blue cockpit. Those are all good things. But there's this clear line right at the front of the canopy where they didn't paint that black, and probably because it would have rubbed off with the metal of the nose cone. But it does create that weird line that I'm not a big fan of. There are holes in the front where these sensors are. That doesn't bother me too much. Everything else, there's the kneecaps, don't really tuck in very securely. So little issues. The biggest ones are definitely the gaps that will bother you. The hard points on the wings work very well. The missiles fit in nice and tightly. They fit on securely. I was very happy with those because that's obviously an area where a lot of other toys have failed in the past. So there you go. That is fighter mode in a nutshell. Let's continue on to Guardian. Here we have Guardian mode, and as you could probably tell instantly on seeing it, it is pretty limited. The toy doesn't get a real downward slope, which is kind of iconic of Guardian mode. So the inability to really angle forward is a big letdown, but it is an SD toy, so you do have to make compromises. And it does achieve the mode and look the part, so it's doing that. Unfortunately, it's also very bunched up on the legs versus the shoulders. I might actually be scratching my leg a little bit right there because that shoulder presses right up against it. So if you move the arms, you can unseat the intakes underneath. So it's kind of problematic to handle. This is when you would put the gun in the hand. The hand has a peg inside of it. There are articulated fingers, which is nice. There's the peg right in the middle of the hand. There is a hole in the grip of the gun. They fit together so well that it has a death grip on there, which is, I guess, what you'd want more than a gun that's going to flop out on you. It's pretty tight. Let's see if I can squeeze it in there. There we go. Get that thumb out of the way. Sorry. So there you go. You have to get the thumb out of the way, and then it'll squeeze right on. You can bring the fingers closed, and it will not go anywhere. That gun is really gripped well. Now you also get fixed posed hands, including a gun grip hand. My one lament about this hand is that the finger for the trigger is attached to the other fingers. So when you put the gun on there, it doesn't allow you to put that finger in where the trigger would be. So that is a letdown. To install the hand, you just pull off the existing hand, plug in the new hand. And since there's no peg in the fixed posed hand, it won't fit in quite as securely, but it's secure enough, certainly, for whatever you would be doing in Guardian mode. Now finally, there is a display stand that comes with the toy. We saw it in fighter mode. The display stand is not meant for any other mode. It holds the butt of the gun in fighter mode. If you try to use it in gear or Guardian mode, I should say, you can. It'll be on there, but it'll be at an even more upward angle. So it doesn't really do you much benefit here, and it's not useful at all in Battroid mode. And let's continue on and take a look at Battroid mode. I do have a separate transformation guide that I highly encourage you to check out, but I am going to show you in this video the aspects of the transformation that are not perfect transformation. So to begin, you have a heat shield. And this heat shield obviously covers up the cockpit. You just go ahead and thread that into position. bring that back down. Now here's one thing that did bug me. If I don't have the side covers in or the top cover, there is a gap in front here of the heat shield. So it almost requires me to go ahead and get the other parts, like this part. So if I bring the head up, I'm gonna free the head from the back there, very stiff. Bring this piece and put it into position. Put the head back to where I got it from. It should just peg right in. Come on. There it goes. All right, so now the head's back into position, and I've got this cover that kind of conceals all of the gappiness that was inside. I have popped open my back, and that's why that piece isn't settled anymore. Okay, so there we go. Stay down. All right, with all that in position, I can then take my side covers, and there's a fat groove and a thin groove. I can line them up and slide them into position like so, and that helps hold everything where it's supposed to be. Here we go. All right, so now with all that in position, my heat shield no longer has that gap. Everything looks cleaner from every single angle. I can now, of course, pop off the head, which is very firmly attached. Put on the bigger head. Bring that back in. And push that in. There we go. Now I have my toy in Battroid mode, as super deformed as it gets, with all of the optional parts included. Okay, let's do a quick run through of articulation. The head is on a ball joint, so you have the cock, left, right, up, down, turn, everything all good there. The shoulders are on a ball joint, but they are trapped between the chest and the back, so you have better articulation towards the back than you do going forward. And you can mess with the ball joint and everything and the shoulder armor on top. No matter what, it's going to be pretty tight and not very easily articulated. You have a swivel point below the shoulder, and you have an elbow that lets you get about 90 degrees, just maybe a little bit less than 90 degrees of articulation. I showed you earlier, there's the 3 fingers, the trigger finger, and the thumb are articulated, and they're on a peg, so they swivel around. Moving down, you have the leg, which goes all the way back, all the way forward, and splays out a good deal. Moving down, you have a swivel at the knee, and then you have the knee itself, which again, a little bit less than 90 degrees, and a little bit of forward articulation as well. The feet don't really do a whole lot for you, as far as you can't pivot left or right, and you can have just a little bit of motion front and back, and when they're all the way open, it's even less. So that, not the most helpful there, but again, this thing's just looking cute. The arms are short and stubby. You're not going to be able to bring the gun across the chest into the hand of the other no matter what. So good enough articulation to get some pretty dynamic looking poses without enough articulation to have a ton of fun actually playing with it. If you're wondering if you could have the wings out and missiles attached in Battroid mode, the answer is yes. If you're wondering if you could close the wings with the missiles attached, the answer is almost. You can't quite make it there. As you see, they stop a little bit short. If you pop off the most interior missiles, then the wings will close all the way. Now, the light up gimmick on the VF1S toy is a switch on the back of the head. You just bring this over. The light is nicely diffused. It doesn't all come out through the sides of the head or anything. So that is particularly well done. On the VF1J toys, there's a little button on the back of the head. You just press down on that button. And again, nicely diffused light. Does not seep out from places it's not supposed to. If you're in the market for a super deformed toy, your options really were only the old Bandai Joke Machine and this new KitzConcept SD VF1 Veritech toy. Obviously, the KitzConcept toy does a lot of things better than the old Joke Machine did. The Joke Machine still has some strength. It's more perfect transformation. It has landing gear and holds together, holds fighter mode a lot better. Fighter mode I thought was a particular weakness of this toy. It's ugly, it's gappy, it just didn't seem well thought out at all. Guardian mode, I didn't have very high expectations of. It doesn't do very much. It holds Guardian mode together, and that's about all I would expect from an SD VF1 toy. Would have been nice if they could have angled it down a little bit, angled the nose down a little bit. Battroid mode is decent. Again, it would have been nice if the shoulder articulation wasn't as inhibited, and you got more than 90 degrees at places like the elbow. But for what it is, it's very cute in Battroid mode. It's cute in Gearwalk Guardian mode. Oops. And it's cute from certain angles in fighter mode, so it's doing what it's supposed to do. You are now aware of all the weaknesses, so you can kind of determine if this is something you'd be interested in. Check out my full review on anymoon.com, and as always, thanks for watching.